Hi everyone, my name is Della Falls. I'm an artist, as well as I'm known as a bicycle lady. How you doing today? I'm doing great. First thing is, I am going to have to ask for your help. It'd really help me out a lot if you would subscribe. There's no charge to it. And with pluses, you get to see all my videos and notified of that, especially if you click on that notification bell. The other thing is if you find the videos informative, enjoyable, or just fun to watch me do things, please click on that thumbs up icon. That tells you YouTube that you like it. That also helps me out a lot. Now, for today's video, you see the items on my desk. I'll explain this later. I just got this in and I really love the wood sphere, but it has to do with something I plan on doing in the future. And I do have a Caran d'Ache Neo Color too, because when I'm marking this with a regular thin marker, it's not showing up that well in the video I see. So I got this out and this looks like it should show up much better. Of course, I have my not HB, but 600 News pencil. And a black and white printout of what we're going to be working with today. In this video, we're going to go through the second exercise of constructive drawing, which includes using shapes rather than just the contour line, which we went through in phase 1. Then after you get the shapes down, it helps with keeping everything in line with each other. Then you can go through and do the polish work or the refinement work. I apologize, I had to step away for a moment for the interruption. Now let's get drawing. First of all, let's review what we went over last time, very briefly. With this new series, we're drawing constructively. And there's two types of things when you draw constructively when you're seeing shapes and forms. One is geometric, which is what we're looking at here. And the other is organic shapes. So you have two shapes, geometric and organic. This is the most common shapes accepted. I added the egg and like a peanut shape. Some people say they are part of it. Others say no. Yeah, you make up your own mind. But definitely these shapes here would be included. And I do have a worksheet that's on my community page, I believe, and also at my Facebook page, which is The Bicycle Lady, all in word. And they were posted as JPEGs, so you can download them and print them and use them for practice if you like. So, I'm not going to practice these shapes just now. I have been practicing them. I also have been taking pictures off of my own collection as well as Pixabay or Unsplash, and I have been finding the shapes. Now this is one of a candlestick. I did edit it a bit. Let's find the shapes here. I think I'll put the shape page over here so we can see it. I do have a couple sheets below this. So let me move those out of the way. Let's find the shapes. One of the things that I like to introduce is the concept of a center line, or what's also known as a plumb line. And what that does, it helps you when you draw. If you see the plumb line, so you can keep everything in alignment. And so when you draw this shape and then move it over to a piece of paper where you're rendering this, you won't get one shape a little over this way and it's just kind of out of alignment. So what you can do is you can eyeball the center and then draw a straight line down. If you're good at drawing straight lines down, as with practice with lines, you can do that without measurements or without, any type of thing. But let's see what we think is the center of this. And keep in mind, it's not just this and this in the center, because look, you wouldn't go up the center. So let's see. Yeah, we can figure this out. I normally go for a smaller place. So let's mark some of these. And then we can find the plumb line a little easier because we'll have to find edges. So I see a shape here. It does have a rounded edge here. You can make it square. I'm just going to do a slight curvature. But it's essentially a square. A rectangle. And let's see. That should be about right. And there's another one up here. So let's do this one. And let's get the center here. And once we have the center, yeah, and we can draw a line through it. And I'm going to do it with a red line, with a pencil. I was going to do it with a red line, but it might be getting a little confusing. So you can use a ruler, or you can freehand it by pulling the line if you're good at doing that. I've got the ruler handy, so I'm just going to use the ruler. Make that real dark. So there we have what's known as a plumb line. Or center line. Okay? And we've already found two of the shapes, and yes, this is working much better. Let's find the other shape. So we have an oval here. It's not quite a square. It's more like part of an oval here. And then we have another oval. And we have another one going here, which is this. Of course, depending on whether it's 30 degrees, 60 degrees, or whatever, you're going to have a different than this. It could be wider this way, but it's still an oval. It's not a circle. Okay, this here actually is more of course, we'll take care of that later about, in engineering they call it chamfering, but a little bit of rounding there. And here we have another oval. So if you drop a line there, it's almost like a triangle, or it could be essentially, what is this called? Trapezoid? Probably said that wrong. It's a shape like that, and then you can round it, which is a variation of a rectangle. Of course, in geometry, they say, oh no, it's nothing like a rectangle, it's this. Okay. Well, and then here's another one. And then we have a slight. There we go. Okay, now let's look at this. We got essentially, oh, I got that off a little bit. There and there. And then this could be one big square that gets rounded up. And then an oval shape. And then that would be. And then we have the same thing here. And this could be a very elongated egg. You see the size? You can almost see that. Or you can treat it like a triangle with the end off of it. And essentially you make it this way. And then you could just round that up as part of your finished work. Same thing here. And then we have another small. And we have another one here. We have another small here. And again, we do have another rectangle. Of course, this would be, like I said, in finished drawing. And then we have another, instead of this way, it would be this way. And that's what this is. And then we have a very narrow, is that close to a 20 or 15 degree ellipse there. So there's the shapes that make this up. Now, isn't that easier than trying to keep the contour line all this side and this side? I think so. And it helps you on getting a more finished and smooth look, I think. But here is where the contour line comes in, is because now you've got these shapes that guide you. Now you have to come in and interpret and do the finish. And maybe, as they say sometimes, make it look pretty or make it exciting and lively. So that will be next. Only thing is, I'm seeing another shape here, which is more or less because of the shadow work. Now, speaking with shadow, initially, last time I said we'd only be dealing with shapes for a long time and then exhaust everything with the shapes before we go to form. I'm rethinking that because they go so hand in hand. I believe we're going to be doing at least finish up this exercise and maybe one or two more. And then we're going to go into tone and value, which is how you're going to get shapes, such as when you're looking at a sphere. How can you turn a two-dimensional circle into the sphere? And that's through, many people say, is shading, which is tone and value. Excuse me. And we're going to deal with that. And that's how come I got this. I actually really like, I just got this in from Amazon, from an Amazon vendor. And I really, really like this little thing. And I'm looking to get some more of the wood forms. They're not the easiest to find. Found some that was about a ½ inch or so. That's a little hard on a setup to see. I think I may have located a source for something like 2 or 3 inches. Now, this is the 3-inch. But I'll keep looking and see what we can come up with. But let's get back and get this drawn. Alright, so now we've gone through, we found the shapes. Let's get this over to a piece of paper. Let me get the paper here. Alright. Now, with the paper, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Well, I want to make sure when I draw this. Now, I may not go, okay, let me measure every little thing and transfer it over the same size. You can do that. You can also do it with some of the perspectives tools that I talked before in phase 1, where you can sight. You can also sight using your pencil taken across. And maybe a couple where I initially set up and see some, but I'm not going to do all of them. I'm going to wing it, as they say, or sight it. The interesting thing, as you use those tools in transferring, pay attention, you will actually develop a sense with your eye. You develop your eye, as they say. And you can actually go, okay, I believe from where I see this to this, it should be about this. And you go back and you measure it with your dividers or whatever, and you'll be pretty darn close, if not almost spot on, without measuring, doing a formal measurement. Now, I'm going to find a plumb line so I can get the center. And I'm going to do this by looking at it, and it's close. It's not exactly 4.5, but 4.5 will get me there. So I'm just going to do pretty close to that. Let's see. Yeah. 4 3/8 would be the plumb line area. So I'm just going to measure it. And then I'm going to draw my plumb line. Now you can, again, eyeball it, just put it anywhere. As long as it has all these features, it wouldn't matter. This is just me wanting to get it in the center. That's not the absolute way that you would do it. But like I said, it's just me. And that's the way I want to do it right now. So you don't always have to do it this way. You could just, like I said, you could just go, okay, I think it's this. Let me find something. And many times you can just see that long mark there. You line that up towards the bottom line, and you know where it corresponds across the other, which is about 2. You can draw a plumb line like that. Let's see if I got it equal at the top as the bottom. Since I'm drawing flat, I have a little more difficulty with that. When it's raised, because where I'm sitting, it's easier, but for filming purposes, I work on a flat surface. That may change, hopefully, in the future as things evolve, but that's okay. 4.5. Pretty close. Yeah, that works. Let's just go with that instead of doing any more measurements. Right now, I'm done using this. So I'm going to put it over to the side because I'm not going to use it anymore. Alright. So, let's see. I think I will do some sighting. Now, I want to draw it the same size. So what I'm going to do, this is the broadest part. And I'm going to take it to the broadest part. So I can do it. I could have done it with a ruler, but I don't really want to measure. Let me just do it with a pencil. And the broadest part through the center, unless this thing is not made where it's symmetrical, would be similar to what is down here. So essentially it would be about there. Let's double check it. I do have a little bit of trimmer, and if you saw Steve Mitchell's latest sheet, he talks about, hey, I have a trimmer off and on. I do have arthritis in my hand as well. My hands can get just a touch stiff, but I don't believe it's really arthritis, so I'm lucky in that point. But occasionally I do have a slight tremor. And like I said, that's just telling my age last time, but it's a fact of life. But there's ways that you can still have those issues and still be an absolute excellent artist. So, there's the other one. And yeah, it looks, let's see, does that pretty much correlate with this bottom part? Let's see, let's put this here. No, I'm off a bit. I guess this would be another way. But, interesting enough, I'm off pretty close to equal on both sides if you do it this way. So I would say that's not bad. Not bad at all. Alright, so now I've got my bottom. And if I drew this straight across, like, let's say I'm drawing this one and straight across, right here. How far down would that be? About there. So, the bottom of that ellipse would be there. And the line would go up here. And if this line goes up here, where's its top? The top is approximately there. And does it matter to exact now? I want to make this a little more dynamic, round it out eventually. But the biggest thing is just to keep it in proper alignment and basically proportional, so it's not thrown off a lot. So it would be up there. So if we drew, and then, let's check this. Yeah. So if we drew an ellipse, it essentially would be, I'm going to draw several lines, and then if you, I like watching and participating in getting sketchy with a virtual instructor. You'll see they'll do a lot of practice lines and do light lines, and then they'll come back and dress it up and smooth it out, which is what I'll do with this. So what you would do is, like, this one here is pretty flat, that one's out of it, and you would pick what would be your smoothest part, and you erase the lighter lines because you're just doing practice. And as you get more practice, like with the ellipse practice sheet and so forth, you'll become more comfortable doing it and more familiar doing it. And the feel is when you get it right. There's a feel to how when you're drawing from your shoulder doing this. What is the right ellipse? And you don't need a French curve. You don't need an ellipse template, although it does make things go faster, and if you have to, as an illustrator, do that while you're drawing by hand. Of course, if you're in like Procreate or one of the others, if you have a tablet to do that, you can snap the ellipse and just keep going. It makes it quicker and easier. Anyway, so, okay, now we got that. Now, I'm eyeballing from here to here, and I think it's about that. I'll take, and I want to make sure that I get similar. Let's see, does that look like it? Yeah, it does. So here's the other one. And I would have another by here. Which is interesting. And of course you can definitely rotate your paper. And then you've got that. Okay. And eventually that will go around and get that dressed up a little bit better. We'll work on that when it comes to that phase. The next thing is, this comes in about this much, which would be about there. And from here, about here. And you're up about here. And that would give me this shape here. Approximately. And that would be, I would say, probably about there. If you notice, I've got reference points here. But if you just want to say, okay, I want it this shape, this size, go for it. And I'm just going to draw a straight line across. Of course, then we would basically do the ellipse. And from this, then, we've got this. And I would say it's about like this. Oh, that's not right. And then from this, I keep them pretty much the same. And that, let's see. That's all of it. That should be about right. And then from that, then I've got a nice square shape. And eventually I'll pretty it up by doing that. But right now I have a square shape. And I think I'm going to make it about like that. What do you think? That close? Or just a little bit taller? Probably just a little bit taller would be good. And there. And then we got this, which is this here. And across here, like that. And then that's a square shape, even though the bottom would eventually have an oval. It's simply a rectangle. Put that in. And then we'd have this shape, which is another rectangle, like this, which eventually, of course, you would curve, do that, and then of course there would be a slight ellipse, but which would go back, and then we'd have another which is essentially the same as this. So I just try to bring that up so it would be still in line with that, and the same diameter, another square shape, which that's just a tiny bit bigger than this. At least that's why I'm going to do it. And then we've got this shape here, which is essentially this shape here, with a line and with another. Now we'll dress that up later, but essentially that's it. And then you can do the elongated egg, or in this case, like what I drew here, we're looking at a triangle. So we do the triangle, which I am thinking, with the way it looks, I'm going to line it up about here. At least that's where I'm going. Let's see. Is that about right? No. Let's see. I'm off a little bit over here, essentially, so I'm going to bring that in slightly. And like I said, you can also make it a little more dynamic, a little more finished as you dress up the lines and put in the finished line work. This is to give you a basis to work from that will help keep everything in proportion and in perspective, as I say. We'll deal with perspective, but that won't be for some time yet. We'll touch upon it, but we'll really get it in depth after we're done with this phase and with the tone value shading phase. So I am going to take it up to about, I think, there. And what I'm going to do is, I kind of like that width. Now let's take it over to about this width. I'll check it here. That's pretty good. And now all I have to do is basically pull a line down. It's off just a little bit. And there we go. And of course, all you have to do is, once this is rounded, and we can just do a rounded shape here, a rounded shape here, and eventually we'll do a chamfer or a rounded shape here, and then it would go to this little box. And this little box does have an edge. It gets dressed up later, but it's just a squash triangle that goes out about there, or a little bit more, because that's where the curve goes. And then that should go out just a little bit more there. Okay, we got that. Then we have another one here. Now, granted, there's going to be curves, and it will come in. It won't be straight like this when we do the finish. But this is the way I'm working it. So I want to put in this. And that does include this curve here, plus a little bit in another oval down here. That will go into the finish. But right now, I want to get the basis laid down, and then I can go back through and do the finish line work and make it more curvy, a little more dynamic, hopefully, add a little more life to it, and make it less of, stacked geometric shapes. But that's what we want here, and that's what helps us to get this down. So this actually has a little bit of a curve, but I drew it as a straight box, and that actually does work, because you can see the curve here, and actually it does do a little bit like this. But I'll show an unmarked up picture when I do the finish. So right here, let's see, I'm going to put it about there. It's not going to be exact, because if I took it this way and took it here, it's close, but it's just slightly off, and that's okay. I want to think it's about there. Let's double check it. Yeah, that's good. And if you really want to get technical, then you would do the same thing up here and just draw a straight line. Or, as in this case, I'll just practice the line a couple times and pull it. Is it straight? Now, pushing this way for me is not as easy. Most artists find that pulling it towards you many times is easier, and it helps you get a straighter line. And we can pull it for you. Now, if you use a ruler to do all this, it can look very mechanical. And right now, it does have a bit of that. But like I said, this is the base of the drawing. And that's the reason why it's being done. And eventually, you'll go back and round this over and get it dressed up a little bit more. And then here, essentially, is it the same? Pretty much. Let's make sure. Like I said, working flat, I can get off slanted more, it seems like, rather than working on a slightly slanted surface. And you'll find those distortions. It's off just a little bit. It's about here. And if you have anything slightly off, when you go through your finished, then you can find that as well. So now we have this here, which is essentially like this. I'm going to make it about like this. I want it just a tad bit thicker. And this is where, if you don't like the way this looks, or you want to change it and alter it, go for it. Do it. I'm going to do that. And let me just pull a line here. I think that's pretty good. And I'm going to go out about like that. Now I turn it. Makes it easier for me. There. Now let's double check things. I think it's off a little bit from my eye. Yes, my eye tells me it is off a bit. So let's change it here. Let's check it. That's better. Okay, now I'm going to take it up. Now granted, this will all be rounded and then there will be an oval shape as well. Oh, actually, I should take it down, shouldn't I? Okay. We can erase that. That's okay. Let's do it. That should be this way. And actually, I think I may just change it and move it up this way. I think that would make it look better. We'll see in the final. And granted, that's not like exactly like this. That's why I want it. I want it just a little bit thicker. Maybe I went a little bit too far, but anyway. And then we have a very, very narrow. And I use a box method to help me draw the ellipse, where you draw a thin box, the size that you, and the width, and then one hits here and one hits there. So your ellipse essentially will have some guidance from the boxes drawn to be very narrow and like that. I think it needs to be a bit more narrow. I got it off a little bit, especially one corner. I don't know. I seem to have it easier drawing the ellipse this way and this way, because that way I have full vision where my pencil point is going. Seems like if I go this way and go around, sometimes that's not always the best for me. And now I'm going to draw. I'll try to draw. I need to sharpen my pencil point. This. Okay, now we block out. Oh, one other thing. Instead of just leaving it like this, where it's straight across here, I think I'm going to go up here. Because looking at it, since this is an ellipse, from here, there is a point that I need to be aware of. If I look at it closely, which is somewhat like this actually, but curved, it should fall somewhere in this region. Let's make sure I have the same one vertically across. And then the ellipse would be something like this. I'm going to have to work with that. But in essence, that also gives you a box format that you need to make that ellipse. So, I pretty much have everything on this candlestick blocked out, and then it's time for finished line work. I'm going to end it here. And the next session, what we're going to be doing is working on this finished line work and getting this dressed up. We'll deal a little bit more with this, and we may even start looking at a practice sheet for forms. So, I've enjoyed drawing this and drawing with you. Until next time, you have a wonderful day. Look to see you in the future.